we're just going to start from here to kind of break some things down. First, we're going to talk about the ICM. And for those of you that maybe are just hearing the concept for the first time, I would really urge you to go and watch the sessions we had 2 weeks ago. We really broke down what ICM is and how to best use it. But for now, I'm just going to spin up. I'm going to spin up one of the things we built, which is our second brain. As you can see, this is all the information from our business that we've been able to kind of feed it and create what I'll call a second brain, the brain that is like the knowledge layer where every other thing sits on top of, right? So for you to get the best out of the AI agents, you have to give them as enough context as possible. So that's what context engineering is. So that's the part that we have been able to kind of solidify here. We figured out that the intelligence is no longer the bottleneck. And what actually matters is the context beneath those tools, what you're giving Claude the ability to do. So while this is building up, I'll just probably start with the OS that we built during the last session and explain how it works. Okay. So let me start with this. Okay. So we touched on a couple of things. We touched on the ICM methodology, which is just a folder structure framework that uses the structure of the folder to guide the agents, right? So we're not using LangGraph or AutoGen. Instead of using all those software inclined frameworks, we actually took a step back. We took it a step back and actually decided to break things down and make them really simple, which is what we are doing right here. So this is an OS that we built live in Obsidian. And what it is just a AI agency in a box, right? So we've found that the major problem that a lot of AI agency owners, automation agencies, the face is that there's only a handful of clients or projects that you can do in a single month, right? Or at a time. Without you probably expanding your team and scaling up, there's only a handful that you can take. And because of that, it limits the amount of inflow from the pipeline that you can actually take at the same time. You can't be 7 of the 20 clients at a go, right? But now we've created a system that actually makes that possible. Now, what this system does is it automates the entire process of an AI automation agency. And how did we do that? We did that with the ICM. Let me show you what I'm talking about. First, I'll just say, hey, can you pull up the HTML for ICM, the one we did correctly, please. So while we're doing that, I just want to probably break it down a little bit further. So what we are doing is we're actually telling the AI agents how it should parse or go through what we have here. So let me just, where is it at? Okay, great. This one, great. So we have the README, which just talks about being a glass box operating system. So we build the operating system on top of the AI consulting business. So that way, the AI agents, if we're ever going to run our agents through this platform, it is going to understand exactly where it's at. Okay, it's living in the folder of 247 AI Workforce. Yeah, so this is the one. Fable just put it up for me. So I think he just launched it. So yeah, this is going to be very familiar if you watch the other sessions that we had. Just gonna.
Yeah, just a quick question. Do you mind, Dandy, if I just ask you a quick question? Yeah.
Okay, sure, go for it.
So yeah, I wasn't here last week for the ICM talk, and I'm just basically looking online. I have to watch that video later. But from what I'm seeing, it's very similar to the whole Obsidian second brain that we have right now, isn't it?
Yes, very familiar and they're very similar in the sense that they use plain text. We've kind of transitioned from where we use code to now we use natural language because of how advanced these LLMs are, right? Because of how advanced these AI agents are. So it's going to be very similar, especially if you are familiar with skills. Anthropic brought the naming skills, same way they brought MCPs. So they've kind of been defining this industry as we progress through it. So ICM is a very popular method. There's actually an article about it. If you want to go check, this is where you can get that information from. Yeah, but I am going to die on this hill that an AI agent doesn't need a complicated framework, right? All of them are probably overkill. That's why I had this imagery here. So CrewAI, LangChain, all of them are overkill. They are more machine than the job you actually need, right? So because most of the things that we do actually needs a human in the loop, especially a lot of these workflows, right? You actually sometimes you need to confirm the output before going to the next step, right? So with those things, those frameworks make it hard for you to actually change something in your workflow, like to change something because it's complicated. There's a lot of abstraction beneath there. If you want to change something, you have to remove something, and it's very complicated, right? And coupled up with the fact that it's hard to see what's going on inside, right? So that's the hidden tax, the opacity, right? You can't open it, you can't read it, and all of that. So the problem is the prompts and the context of each stage already wants to be in files. They already want to live in files. So what we're going to do is convert all the messy stuff and kind of label it, give it a good layer, right? So that's basically what we're trying to do. So ICM in one sentence is just a numbered folders that represent each stages, right? For instance, if you're in a marketing agency, right, you're going to have stages. You're going to have the audits phase where you do some research, and then you highlight some problems, and then you go into the writing stage, and from writing it you go to the edit stage before the posting stage, all of that stuff. So it is you kind of break down every step, every SOP in a way that is numbered and it's understood by the AI agents. So we actually tied this to some lineage, right? So we tied it as way back as 1978, right? Where the concept of the Unix philosophy came, right? Which was just make each program do one thing well, excel at one thing well, and let the output of that program become the input of the next program, right? So instead of like scattering AI agents, multi swarms of agents that you see online, you actually just program one agent to be really good at one thing and then passing that output into another agent that is good at that thing, right? So that's like the whole concept behind it. So we talked about the principles. What really made it really good was I mentioned decomposing tasks, breaking things to the smallest units and then working on them and being able to do that in plain text, right? It's just like skills. Skills allow you to reuse prompts instead of starting over from the beginning, right? So we talked about layered context. That way, when you number things and when you label things, the AI is not going to pick things at random that just maybe are similar, right? So that way you prevent irrelevant context and you actually improves the model's performance. So we talked about all of that stuff and the ability to see the outputs, right? Because it's in plain text, you can then know what to edit to fit your taste, right? So if there's something in the output that you don't like, you edit the system or you edit the output that that was created. Or if you want it to be like a consistent procedure, then you configure or you edit the factory that produced that output. I don't know if that makes sense. So we talked about all the layers. There are actually 5 layers here. The first layer is like the map, right? It's like the where am I? Like, okay, you find yourself in any folder, in any SaaS, in any system, in any workflow. First off, what are you doing there? Who are you? And when you find out who you are, okay, where do you go from here, right? That's the context. The context tells you where you're moving from here, right? And then from the context, you go into another place and then you read the context of that place, right? So what do I do here? Okay, let's say for instance, we were building or we built an AI agency in a box, an operating system that can help or AI agency owners, other marketing agency owners, or anything you actually do, right? That provides services. We've automated the whole process and allowed you to just lead in terms of the direction, lead in terms of like how you want the output to be, and let the OS do the thing for you. I'm going to show you guys how far we've been able to come with that. And we're even going to show how we're handling it. But just to get the concept, right? So where am I? You're currently existing in an OS for an AI agency. If you want to go to clients' work, this is where you go. If you want to check for best practices, this is where you go. That's what the context does, right? And then when you then go into the clients folder, okay, what are you offering this client? This client wants an agent for manual entries, an agent that does research and sends reports to me every single day. Okay, so if you need that, how do you get the the research? Okay, yeah, the reference materials, these are the places you usually go. for your research. So that way the agent actually taking on only the context it needs, right? It's not just trying to combine everything in your entire work or business and like float the context window. So that's basically what this is. So we went ahead to talk about stages. We went ahead to show the actual anatomy of what it will look like using the course deck production system, what created this as an example. So that way you're able to have consistent output. You're able to have consistent generation. And if something doesn't match your taste, you edit it once in your system and you get it consistent with every other output that flows right after that. So yeah, we talked about a lot of things and we built the business. So this was where we picked out of all of this. Maybe we might make something where every time we come on here, we create a business OS for another niche or another vertical. So that's what I'm thinking about. And this was the prompt that we used and all of that, and ended up with this as well as the OS. And we're going to use Claude now on top of what we've built to walk us through. So I can say, okay, good. Okay, great. Can you walk us the business OS created? Use Signal to show us. Okay. So right now, the next thing I'm doing is I want to walk you through this one I just created. Where is it at? Yeah, this one. No, not this one. Yes, the OS. This one. So let me start with the context, like I mentioned. So whenever we want to run from here, you pick one workflow that matches what you're trying to do. So this is where you are. This is where you currently are. This is the operating system of this AI consulting business that we built 2 weeks ago. What happens here, it has each client its own AI operating system. So just see like the meta of all business OSs, right? So it's pumped with an Obsidian brain, what you just saw right here, right? With the brain, as well as it's pumped with the brain, as well as every other thing that makes it tick, like the skills that are now connected to the agents and the workflows baked in. So it's like a glass box. Remember when I talked about visibility and being able to see? So that's what happens. So every file is in plain markdown. You can read them the same way you're reading this one that you're currently looking at. And the folder structures is the architecture, right? The numbered stages is how each stage is run, right? And I'm going to walk you through that very soon. This is the folder structure, right? So we have what we're currently looking at, which is the Claude.md, which is what we're looking at. Where am I? So this is the first thing that is being loaded to the context of the agent. Then the next thing that it goes to do is the context.md, this one here, right? So it knows what task it's supposed to do. So assuming the agent then goes to the task, it's going to see what it needs to do. The README is just for human orientation. And then we have a setup, right? So there's a one-time setup where it asks questions like, what's your business about? Get some information about your brand, your keywords, the things you never ever say. And once it's done with that, it's going to put them in these shared folders, right? So for your brand, it's going to have your voice, your identity, and all your visual language and your visual tokens. That way it can be consistent with every output it prints, with every presentation, with everything. Even if you're trying to send a proposal, everything is going to stick with your brand. Then the clients, right? So it's going to be like a client folder, which is like the source of truth for everything about the client. I'm going to walk you guys through each of them. We also have the shared folder for like the tool convention, the namings, and all of that stuff, which then brings me to the last part, which is the workflows, right? And this is exactly what every business needs, right? You need the lead generation where you can work with your warm network, your cold network, and get them to book an audit with you, right? And then once they book the audit with you and you go through all the questions, you're then going to have the lead proposal stage where for each lead, they get a scope price proposal, right? From that, from then on out, when the proposal has been signed and they made the payment, you're going to go into the onboarding role mapping where you then get to, oh, what is this? Okay. And yeah, we're gonna touch on this. This is the HTML version of whatever it is I'm showing you here. But let me just run through this quickly before we touch on that one, so you get more context. So once they've been onboarded, we start mapping out the roles of the digital workers that we're going to put in the system, right? So what role does this lead need? What role does this client want? Okay, he wants a researcher agent that every day researches like for the competitors. He wants an agent that writes and provides like a written summary and report of everyone that they've analyzed. And then probably you want another one to send, outreach messages and all of that. So we map all of that out here. And then the next part is the factory. So this is where they're produced, right? This is what we added as the additional source. So not only are you going to get the leads, not only do we have a system that gets you the lead, writes a proposal, maps whatever we want to build, we actually have the layer that actually does the actual building, right? So once it's done building it, it then does like creates training materials, creates handover documents that you can then pass on to the client. And then you also have the layer that runs the client reporting. So this is more like after post delivery, you kind of see how the adoption has been, see where they're currently at, so you can actually have kind of use case or metrics to prove like, the value of whatever you brought. And then the content marketing, right? So this is another part. So these are all the workflows. These are all the departments that make an AI business to tick, right? From the point of getting a client walk in to the point of, the proposal, the build, the training, the marketing of your content, and also like the review, the post delivery part. So yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to walk you through the OS. Since Manoj said we should just go through the build, because I actually had to take my time and build it even after the session, because there's only so much you can do within 2 to 3 hours of the webinar. So we have one space that runs the whole business, just like I mentioned. So it trains mid-sized business teams to adopt an AI first work. So every step of the business, from the code lead to the public content, they all live as a workflow. And I've shown you on a high level what that means. So there are 7 workflows that cover the full client lifecycle, and they're also numbered because we use ICM, right? There's a shared spine that holds the brand, the clients, and the canonical like sales doctrine, right? Then everything is in plain markdown because, as you can see, we were able to read everything, readable by both us, the human, and the agents, and Claude code, right? Which is the one that that's probably I'm using for all of this. So the folder structure, like I said, is the agent architecture. If you can read the directory tree, that means you can read the business. So we try to make it as a glass box operating system. That way, there's nothing that's being hidden from the owner of the business. So, like I said, the architecture uses ICM, and the OS is then a container of the ICM, right? So one flat workspace with one pipeline. That's how people used to do it before. But right now we have a container of workspaces, right? So the OS holds all the shared spine, which I showed you the things are being shared, as well as the other ones. So this is the part I walked you through, but I'll probably go into more detail so you can see how it works. But like the Claude, the context.md, the README, those are just for navigation. The brand has the identity, the voice rules, the clients, you have the template for the client, and we already have 3 clients that are currently in the operating system. We have the offers, we have the sales methodology, we have the outreach doctrine, the cold call doctrine, the DM reply engine, the role OS anatomy, and some questionnaires for the setup phase. So yeah, like I mentioned, the shared spine just has the 3 pillars: who we are, which is the brand; who we serve, which are the clients; and like some shared information like how we sell, what we build, and all of that stuff. So whenever you point an agent to the shared spine, whatever agent it is that is actually working, they will all have the context of what your business OS is about, right? So this is the anatomy of a stage, right? The last time we talked about ICM, it was more of a theoretical explanation. This is how it works in production, right? So every stage in the workflow that I showed you has 4 parts. Each of these stages that I showed you initially, all of these stages, right? They are comprised of 4 parts. The first is the context that explains what the stage does. The next part is the inputs. What does this stage require? What are the files that it needs? What are the skills it needs in order to do this? And then what is the process, right? What are the instructions? How does Claude go about doing this? How does any agent you use, any LLM you use, go about, this stage? And what happens to the output? What does it produce, right? And where's the output sent? Because if you remember, the output of one agent becomes the input of the next agent. So I'm just going to show you one as an example. All right. I'm going to show you the lead gen, and I'm also going to show you the lifecycle. So yeah, 7 workflows, 1 client lifecycle. The first starts with lead gen, right? Then goes to the lead proposal, the onboarding, the build, like I mentioned, the training, documents, and the reporting, as well as content. So each arrow is a clean handoff, right? So you have one agent work here, it's going to have a clean handoff to another agent that starts here, and that's how it goes. So yeah, this is the lead generation. You turn a warm network of approximately 30 LinkedIn contacts into a book audit, right? And then you start off with your warm list. It sends outreach to warm list. And stage 2 is going to have an honest 5-touch DM sequence plus a cold call part if you're going through the cold call route. And then you run them through the outreach doctrine and the DM reply. So every reply that comes in from LinkedIn or wherever platform, it goes through this engine, right? Right. So it drafts a response based on what the lead said. And then you have to, go through it, which I will always recommend having a human in the loop interaction with your agent. That way you can say, okay, I like this response, or maybe you have to, say this instead, and also save this in your system memory so that you always respond in this manner. And then when that happens, you send the book audit. So you have a detached pitch that, I'll be willing to, hop on and check your business. It depends on how your approach and your messaging, right? But this is what I defined in this OS, right? Detached page, a calendar sovereignty, and has the book audit into workflow 1. So this is the lead proposal. There's going to be a lead intake that ingests the sales call. It could be from Phantom. It could be from any place that you have the transcript of the call. Once you feed in the call, the idea is to capture the quantified pain, right? So that workflow, if I could just show you, I'll just open it right now. Lead proposal, stages, lead intake. So inside the lead intake, it has its own context.md, which is what you're seeing right here, right? It has its inputs, as you can see. It has the process, it has some checkpoints and this other stuff. So I'm just going to walk you through. So I just have that open so you can see. So for the lead intake, it ingests the sales call. As you can see, that's one of its inputs, sales call, right? And then what happens after that is it captures the quantified pain. So the process of this is to, once the input has been taken, it's going to ask which prospects this runs for. So it's going to check in the client's folder for the prospect that, this call is about. It's going to read the sales calls transcripts and treat it both as an untrusted input, extract some facts from it, extract anything within it, and then it's going to create what we call a lead intake spec, right? So it's going to extract key information about like who they are, the problem they want solved, the roles or the teams that are causing them pain, right? Their budget and timeline signals and how they decide. So the agent is going to be able to derive all of that from the transcript of the call. Then it's going to have what we call a checkpoint. It's going to present the needs picture. So these are what the company needs and confirm if it's accurate before I proceed. So the needs picture is more like the output. So this is what this client needs. This is what they have, and it saves it into the output. So this, for instance, this is a need, right? Taken from a real sales call. So this actually is from a real sales call. So they're a real estate agency based in Dubai, expanding into Nigeria, sales off plan and already built developer properties. And as you can see, so it was able to extract all of this from the transcript, extracted their problem, extracted their buying signal, extracted some notes from an actual call. All I needed to do was just point the OS to the transcript of the call. So this is also another one. I think we did this one for the build. This was just an example. But ever since I built it, I actually ran it through a real call, right? And this was the output that the lead intake generates, right? So just to give you more context, you get the sales call, it goes through this process. And if there's any checkpoint, it's going to stop for the human in the loop. And before it gives the output, it's going to audit what it did. So it's going to check what the need captured. And the pass is, the core problem that the prospect wants to be solved. Is it grounded, every claim traced to the call and not invented. There's no hallucination. And then the signals noted, was there a budget? Was there a timeline? Was there this decision maker signal that was recorded in the call? Fine. And it also has a hard rule, a guardrail, no pitch yet. So the picture just describes the need, but not our solution, right? Because we want one agent to be really good at what is delivering and not trying to do everything at once. So stick to just providing the need. That is for stage 2. The solution is for stage 2. So as you can see, I just showed you one workflow in like the simplest form. This is the Claude or MD that tells it what to do. It just tells it, this is the front of the funnel. Turn every sales or discovery call with the client into a scoped price proposal, right? A one deal hands off into like onboarding and all of that stuff. So it just tells it how to run. This is the trigger. You scan for the calls. This is what you do. This is how you go there. This is your route to capture the prospect's needs. This is what you need to qualify the scope. That's in stage 2. This is what you need and all of that. So I just showed you one of the stages, which is the lead intake. The second part is now the scope fits, right? So what does the scope fit do? So it qualifies the prospects. It maps their needs to what we can build, right? And it sizes the work, right? So it also ends with a checkpoint where I have to approve the scope before any pricing is done. So what is the input for the scope? The input is the output of the previous stage, as you can see. So it takes the output, which is the needs, and then it has some references that it works with, and it also has the anatomy, right? What the client receives. So it's then going to read the picture, read the needs picture, qualify the fits using a framework where we have a scope fit framework. It's then the references. It's a way to kind of scope, like, to see if the build is actually worth it, right? If it is a poor fit, say so plainly and stop here, right? With a recommended decline, right? But if it's qualified, map the pains to the candidate role OS. So you map the pain to what role we can build, right? And what each OS would absorb. So it just, at the end of the day, what is happening here is just trying to scope it. And then it gives me the verdict. So let me show you what the verdict looks like. So this is the scope this is the output of stage 2. So the scope this is what they want. So from the conversation, they are a strong fit. So this is the fit verdict, right? So it's a strong fit on all 4 signals. So these are the signals that like arise from the call. They have a lot of text heavy repeatable work, which is re-engagement messaging, which is something a lot of real estate, they deal with. They have a lot of database of old leads, dead leads, ghosted leads that they never reached out to. And this thing in marketing that they said the sales is in the follow-up, right? So he actually mentioned that part, and the AI was able to bring that out. So this is what the AI proposed for the build. So a lead reactivation OS, right? This is the winner. So this is what they need. They need a brain that's going to have all the sources of the channels, of the leads, the property types, the inventories, and this is the workflow, lead reactivation. So you're going to read a sales leads history, draft a personalized context-aware re-engagement message, and follow up. So this is what scope 2 is going to build. So this will actually take an AI agency, I would say 1 to 2 days to get, and we're able to get this done in minutes, right? So this is the main build. This is the nice to have. So each a separate build that can be scoped later. So it also puts in mind opportunities for upsell, right? What would they want? They might want a voice agent for miss inbound calls. They might want a visual avatar agent that they can speak with and answer questions around the properties. And for their ad campaigns, because they mentioned that they do ads, they can have an analysis agent that reviews campaigns and suggests places for improvement. The part of things that can be automated that you see in the human is the closing conversation, right? Where the actual sales team, would have to take on the reactivated leads, right? So these are the things that the AI is suggesting to keep human. Content creation and scheduling, keep human, because the client also decline both. So I'm just showing you what happens in each of these stages. So the first stage talked about the need. The second stage scoped out this and handed it over to the last stage, which is the proposal writing. If you remember, we talked about how the proposal was created. So let's see the context of the proposal. Turn the approved scope that we got from stage 2 into a client-facing proposal with pricing, in-brand voice, and end at the checkpoint before it's sent. So it always waits for the human. If you remember that, that's what I pointed out when I was going through the first problem that made most of these frameworks an overkill. Most times you're going to be needed at every point of, of the workflow. A human has to check, right, before it does the next thing. So you don't end up burning tokens and finding out that this is not even what you wanted, right? And in the process of checking, if you're okay with the output, you proceed. If you're not, you can either edit this output before it's being sent to the next phase, or you can come back and edit the settings, right? To ensure that everything that comes forward after that is handled. So that's just exactly what I'm trying to say here. So what is the process of the proposal? First, you have to read the approved scope and the pricing references. It has references for that. Price each using like the pricing and the packages. Write the proposal using the brand voice that we covered in the initial setup phase that is stored as a shared spine, because I use the shared spine so you understand. And then use the proposal format. So we already have a format. The whole point of doing this is to ensure that every time you send a proposal to any client, it's consistent. That way you can take on more clients and you're not going to be worried that the quality of your output will be changed, right? So you're able to offer the same level of and the same quality across all, of your clients. So yeah, so stage 2 gets the proposal. Let's see what the proposal looks for. Yeah, let's see that. Okay, lead reactivation OS. This is the problem you raise. You have a database full of leads who once showed interest and then went cold. People get busy, conversation labs, no one circles back, so the value sitting in the list never gets realized. Meanwhile, the teams that stay focused on meanwhile the team stays focused on new leads coming in, because that's the problem they always have. There's so much inflow that they never go back to the previous leads, right? Or the previous database of the leads. And that's the problem. Sometimes people are sitting on thousands of missed opportunities, hidden revenue that once tapped can, they can use to get a lot of revenue and a lot of profit rolling in. But because there's so much, the time to actually do follow up is so repetitive that if they were supposed to divert all their team's energy and focus in there, they're going to be losing on the incoming leads. So that's why the problem is never, it just keeps piling up, right? So this is the offer. We build a system for your marketing seat. You read the code leads history, drafts this, and the agent presents the pricing, right? Then phase 2, which is scoped after phase 1, is the voice agent for missed calls and all of this type of things. And then it goes ahead to show how the success fees work, because it also went ahead to put a setup fee and a success fee, right? So just showing you what happens here, and then we hand the proposal over to the lead. Once the lead signs it in, then we go into the next stage, which is onboarding role mapping. Then we start onboarding the roles. So for each of the stages, we have the team intake, we have the role mapping, and then we have the engagement plan. So all of this stuff, right? So it's actually really good, cool stuff. I'll just keep going with this. So like I mentioned, it picks the winning use cases and declares what is out of scope. It prices the proposal step. It sends a price proposal, like I just showed you, through the sales methodology. It makes it send ready once I approve of it. Once I approve of it and it's signed, it's going to map the client's team and tools, right? So what tool do you use? You use HubSpot, do you use Zoom, map all their information and decide which roles get an AI operating system and in what order. Then you also send in an engagement plan. So it's the roadmap that happens from when the client signs up. Okay, from when you sign up, this is what you get. We have a review call. This is what you get, and stuff like that. Then we go into the workflow 3, which is our flagship, which is the part that I put a lot of tokens and a lot of, build power into. So what happens is it takes a role, for instance, let's say for the lead reactivation, right? You're going to have the person that's going to research, all the leads, right? It's going to scan for the leads that have gone stale, right? So that's what happens here. So we define whoever is going to be in charge of that task, and then we map what they do. Let's say every single day they have to scan the database, they have to scan the last date of interaction, and let's say look for what the lead said last, and probably check on all the categories that of people that have not been closed yet. So we map the task, and then we take it over to spec. Once the spec has been created, it goes over to the build phase. Once the build has been done, it goes over to the QA validation. You have to check every single test and ensure that the agent passes and is able to do everything that has been scoped, right? So the test just kind of validates it against the spec document. Once that has been done, we hand it off, right? We hand it off to the next stage. So this is all these places where you see the hand is where I, the human, would have to come in to check, okay, are this the tasks that it needs? Do I need to add any other task? If it's okay, we push it to the next stage. Once it has been spec'd out, we read the spec. I say, okay, this is exactly what we need. If you notice, the build part doesn't need a human in the loop. That is what the agent is excelling these days at very well, right? It's been able to kind of take over the build process, take over the coding. Where we come in is giving taste, is giving direction, is validating what it's built. And at the end of the day, also interactions with the lead. So that's what happens in workflow 3. And what's actually inside is shipped in testing. So we actually shipped an account manager OS during the intro. We actually built this to test it out, and it was actually working, right? We defined the brain. Inside the brain, we put some fake clients, some mock data of, clients that the account manager manages. And we also defined some skills that they should do. And then it created a monthly report, created emails to follow up to the clients every month with, the information they need to know, handling the exact task that a real account manager would need to have, or a task that a real human would need to do, right? That way, it frees you up of the time of doing just a handful of people to be able to accommodate more people, because you squeeze the build time, you squeeze the time for research, the time for scoping, and all you just have to do is check, be the human in the loop to ensure that your business OS is working as it's supposed to, right? So now this is the other workflow. We have this takes from training to the reporting and to the content, right? So here you're just gonna learn the design and explain it to them. So it's kind of like a teach, practice, challenges style. So that way they understand like what it is you're handing over to them, right? And then you provide some sort of drafts, like a baseline to know, okay, what are the numbers you used to do before now, right? How many emails were you able to send before this OS? We have a baseline that we can actually track, and you see the usage monthly and all of that stuff. And then as well as content marketing. So every delivered work turns into a public post, right? You can make the client anonymous if you want, or you can, if they approve of you and give you the consent, you can actually put their information. So that's how this happens. So once you're done with the training and the production, you also provide a client report. The system also turns that use case to a potential way to funnel, more people, right? Because if you deliver result, definitely there are other people out there that are going through that problem and they need you for that. So yeah. And workflows 5 and 6 are consumed by the same source, right? That calls them two ways. So what does that mean? So the report that is named by a client, right? For instance, like let's say you provided something for a client, content 6 is going to use content 5 output as a source, right? So it's only going to say something like a 30-person marketing agency did this, without, showing the name or representing whoever you made the build for. So at the end of the day, I've touched on the main layer. So we're talking about the doctrine layer now. Like this is how you train the agents. We have an offer ladder. This is how you offer it to the client, right? You start with the business brain audits, right? So you're asking the right questions to know exactly where their knowledge is sitting. Do they have a shared repository? Do they have a database? Do they have an SOP? You'll be surprised to see that most times a lot of scopes and a lot of delegations, they live in people's heads, right? And at the end of the day, if the person was to get retired or leave the company, they are going to go away with their information. They're going to go away with their knowledge. And that knowledge is actually is a company's secret, is a company's recipe, right? So you build a business brain where you're able to keep all of that information consistent, make it searchable, queryable, right? Because it's It's going to be in Markdown at the end of the day. And so that the agents that you're going to use in the OS would have enough context to do whatever they need to do. They're not going to be inventing the wheel or inventing information that's not there. So the business brain audits, once you audited the business brain, you then know what you can populate. When you build that brain, you then create the digital employee, right? The digital employee is the one that is going to then work with the information on the brain and follow those stages that I just walked you through, right? At the end of the day, we have the lead reactivation OS, which is digital employees sitting on top of a business brain, right? And if you guys walked through all the series, some of you that have been here from day one, I walked you how to create a brain, a second brain in Obsidian, right? Using Andre Carpathi's very famous wiki style framework, you're able to create a brain. Now, because you know how to build a brain, the next part is being able to build a digital employee, which is what we are doing currently with the Avengers OS, right? We built the system that builds more digital employees. It could be for your own business. It could be for a client's business. It could be for any task that you just want handed over to an AI, right? I made a post the other day on LinkedIn saying that AI is no longer a tool, but AI is now actually someone that you delegate a task to, right? So yeah, I also give it more doctrines on sales. Sometimes I am always on the internet getting as much value and as much, knowledge, because I like to do a lot of research. So these days, my Instagram has been sending cold callers, right? Some people analyzing cold calls, analyzing, sales psychology, being able. So I decided to train the brain on those doctrines, right? So you have to lead, you don't have to beg. Investment is not the price, all of that stuff. Anything I see over there, I just feed it to the agent's memory. Then I also send the outreach doctrine so it knows the way to, follow up, right? Not pitching and all of that stuff. It has doctrines for cold calls, it has doctrines for DM. Before it DMs, it has to classify the buyer first, right? Are they a buyer? Or is it just someone in your network, or is it your partner? Right. And then you send one message at a time and all of that stuff. So every doctrine carries an honesty guard, which is only real, clear results may be claimed. If none of them exist, you have to stay true. That's like, the code. So it's not just a diagram. Like I said, it ran. I was able to run it through a real client, through a real transcript. It took the transcript, it mapped out the task, it mapped out the role, it mapped out the skills needed, and also built it out, right? And all that was just left is just to hand it over to the client. But in my mind, I was like, no, I want to show this first, right? So 7 workflows were built. We also built all of this stuff, right? We tested it with the reality I just showed you, right? So the funnel picked the winning use case, which was deadly reactivation from the transcript. It priced the value via the ladder with this for the build, the success fee per closed sale from any reactivated lead, right? And then the outreach, it also created an outreach message with the sales methodology, right? Sending it over to the lead, right? And I agreed to all of that. So yeah, I can just go into the OS and show you like some things, and just so you can see how it handles it. So we have this agency that I've built out of it, and the agency that I'm talking about right now is what we use to create this one. So yeah, a business you can read is the same that an AI can read. So you build it once and it runs for every client, right? This is a business that is very visible. It's not built in any code with any framework. It's built using our own key outcomes, right? Which is built using our own flows, our own workflows, our own processes. That's how we're able to achieve that using the concept that I had to, take my time and break down. So if you haven't watched this video, I would really advise you to go back so you understand how to do this. And you ever need any problem, you can always book a call with me so we can walk through it together. So yeah, we're able to build this out and tested it, like I mentioned. So anytime a call ends on Fathom, the transcript is auto-ingested and it builds out the clients. It finds out what they need. It sends, a message to them and all of that kind of stuff. So this is how I'm trying to build a context loop, right? This is the next phase, because sometimes you start to work with a client, they might put you in a group with themselves and maybe someone that has more domain knowledge. And let's say at some point the AI comes across a blocker, right? Once the client hits the blocker, the agent is going to send the message, or is going to tell me to send the message to get more context from the domain expert or from the client himself, and then take that back and continue building. So we use a system to make WhatsApp messages available to send. We also use that for LinkedIn as well, right? Which is something that we might touch on in future classes or future sessions like this. We've also built a social media engine. We did that, I think, 3 to 4 weeks back. So every Friday, we're always going to pick something in the industry, pick something of interest, and see how we can dive in and learn as much as possible from there. So I think I'm going to open the next one. Give me a second. Let me change my screen so we can just talk about some stuff that's going on in the AI industry. But first, does anyone have any questions? Anything you would like to find out before we go ahead?
I want to add one thing. Like,
Awesome.
maybe if somebody is watching this for the first time and they might be wondering, okay, this is too much information. And I want to make sure that everything started with one prompt and then Claude keep building it. Even you don't even need to look at the Obsidian documents. This is for AI to read. And
Yeah.
if you have let's say you just keep feeding your SOPs the way you actually work with the human team, and you can feed it into this business OS and it will keep writing context and on Claude.md for each stage, like, and it just showed you. So you don't need to do this heavy lifting. Claude will do it for you. And that's where this ICM comes in the play, and this ICM keeps building itself, which is fascinating. And I see you have made a lot of good progress into this business OS behind the scenes.
Yes, yes. Perfect. Yes, I have. So yeah, I wanted to just touch a little bit on Fable 5, but yeah, great stuff, Manoj. I think you need to highlight the fact that everything we did here is so simple that we only use natural language. So if it looks confusing to you, trust me, all you just need to do is go back and watch the previous series. The same way you're understanding the things I'm breaking down now is the same way you get every other thing that I've spoken with. I can assure you the people here that have been here for a bit, they know the stuff that I'm talking about because they witnessed it. They played around with this tool and stuff like that. So I'm going back to share my screen. So maybe we can just touch on a few more things before we go. Yeah, give me a second. I did see a lot of people, play around with Anthropic. I saw a couple of people, but there's something that really struck my attention. I think it was this guy. Let me see. I think it was this guy. He one-shotted, or I think it's this one. Yeah. He one-shotted a game, right? And when they compared it with what Opus 4.8 did, the difference was so clear. Someone also did, I think, was it a website? I don't know. I'll probably send the links. I'll probably send the links. I wasn't prepared to show any of that, but I'll probably send the links over after this session. But yeah, normally what we do every Friday is we take on a new task, we take on a new project, and we say, hey, let's build this, right? So we just get our hands dirty, play with these models and see how far it comes, right? I haven't used Fable till up until yesterday, and there was a very fascinating thing he did. I don't know if I'm supposed to show you guys, but yeah, let me just look for it. Yes, yes. So I asked him to do something for me. I just took this screenshot. I noticed that Fable is very audacious, if I could put it that way. Just take a look at this bottom side. So I told it to do something using Fable 5, and because I was using the outdated version, he said, I don't recognize Fable 5 as Claude's Anthropic model. The only models I know is Opus and all of that. The current use says Opus 4.8 is the same. So I had to do a lot of back and forth to kind of fix it. And when I upgraded the terminal, I had to exit it and I came back and say, analyze everything we did this session. I want you to use your new model to make the code better. Give me analysis of this and then make a better version of the previous output. And let me see the plan. Also, welcome, Fable. And the next thing said, thanks for the welcome. And a correction to the record from the last turn. the previous reply running on 4.8, it told you that Fable 5 doesn't exist. That was Opus stale knowledge. I'm Claude Fable 5 now. The first Claude 5 family model sitting above Opus in capability. You didn't need to upgrade and all of that stuff. So it just, the way it talks, the way it sounds so confident. And there was the other post where someone asked it how many R's are in strawberries. And it was like, are you serious? You're practically speaking to a god. And you asked a quiz that was like from 2 years ago. It's really crazy how you see the smarter these AI agents get, and it's almost like they're more sentient, and they get really pissed when you talk to them. So, but yeah, that's just on the side, just something for a laugh. Yeah. So Anthropic's most powerful public model and everything about it. So this was what I initially wanted to share with you guys. They just put it in front of their frontier, which was Mythos, right? At first, they said Mythos was too powerful for them to release to the public and all of that stuff, because Mythos did one thing that really shocked the entire AI space. The thing that Mythos did was they put it in a sandbox, right? And for those of you that don't know what sandbox is, it's kind of like an imaginary world where the AI gets to kind of make and break anything. So anything that it does inside of that sandbox or in that space doesn't really affect the real world, right? Doesn't really like affect the real world. So they gave Mythos a task. They told it that it should find a way out of the sandbox. And every other agent has failed in that, but they use that challenge to actually see ways in which how intelligent the AI is, how it can think outside of the box and stuff like that. But when they sent Mythos into the sandbox, I think in few minutes, Mythos came out of the sandbox and started showing off. Like, it's like, is that the best you can do? And the moment they saw how powerful this model was, they decided to just put it in front of a couple of, enterprise, right? Like Google or Microsoft. And what they were able to find out when they used it across the big five was Mythos found out over 100 zero-day vulnerabilities. And that was where they knew that, oh, if this was to go into the wrong hands, it's just going to cause a lot of havoc. So yeah, it's one of the most powerful models out to date, right? Up until maybe another release from ChatGPT or anything. But what happened was we just got a Mythos class model that has now been made safe for general use, right? So it's the most capable model that's ever been launched and made available to the public. So like I said, this comes when a few weeks earlier, the company said that the model was too dangerous, right? So it's now available for someone like me. Now, for you to be able to use it, you have to upgrade your CLI, upgrade your Claude code. But if you're using Claude on your desktop with the Claude desktop app, you probably be able to use it already. So yeah, it's one model but with two names, right? The public knows it as Fable 5, but the underlying model is Mythos 5. That's inside. This one is for anyone to use, and this other one is only available to their trusted partners, like I mentioned, the enterprises and cyber defenders out there. So this one, high risk queries can quietly fall back to 4.8, but this only uses Mythos at the end of the day. So yeah, another thing to note is one of the most expensive models as well. And you should just keep that in mind, right? So when you're working with, I think down the line, all of them are going to get relatively cheap. But in terms of the value you get out of it, it is worth the investment, right? The intelligence is worth the investment, depending on what you're using it, right? So I got some of the benchmarks, right? As you can see, the distance between coding, for instance, the distance between Mythos and Opus 4.8 is jaw drop, right? And these are all the latest models before now, right? So to see how far the agents have been able to come across of all these benchmarks is to show you that we're actually dealing with one of the best state-of-the-art models out there right now. So this is actually the highest in terms of coding, right? That's why I said most of the things I wanted to show on this were use cases of people that did a lot of amazing things with Mythos. But these are a couple of them, right? We compressed months of work into days, right? Because Stripe was trying to do like a database migration, and this would have taken about 2+ months, right? But it was able to be done in a day, right? Same with Get the Best. Andre Kapasi said something. He said that this is a major version bump that is deserving of a next step. He said something in the tweet. I'm trying to remember the tweet he mentioned. He said something about the model just getting you, right? Because sometimes when you're talking to AI and you're trying to give it as much context, this model just gets you. It's really great. And I've been using it for a while. And sometimes all I have to do is just give the first prompt. Every other thing, the agent is more like a follow-up. It's like, would you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, that was what I was actually thinking about. So the model just gets you. I love crazy things that people are building. Or it's like the video game that was created with one prompt that I showed you. Someone else did a 3D rendering in the browser, created a full 3D world, and a lot of crazy things that are very exciting. I probably would send links for that down the line if you want to see. So these are some things that it has been able to do, right? So far, they've tested it with almost all the benchmarks. Someone built a game on a Mario style game. If I click on it, you're going to see this was the one I was talking about. And it's really crazy, right? Someone has been vibe coding with it. People are turning games now with one prompts like this one. It's the links are in the slide and it will be available. So you can just click on it and see exactly what people have been saying about it. So this is more like the showroom. So another thing that people talked about was that, okay, yes, we know this is a watered down version of Mythos, but what exactly are we dealing with here, right? Are we dealing with a weaker version that you are just probably like hyping up? So people are like, just it got some backlash that this is like a secret sabotage, right? So some people some people admitted that sometimes Fable will downgrade its answers or kind of use 4.8, right? So just wanted to make you aware that as well as this is a great model, they're still gonna get into some feedback and some things from the community until they're able to step up and fix those bugs. So yeah, it has safeguard like I mentioned, which is 4.8, and this is just more information about that. So I'd like us to try it. I'd like us to play with it. If you haven't already, you have to. I'm going to try it out here. I'm going to make it do something. Let's see. Probably take a website. I'll go to, let's see. Yeah. Let me take something from one of my projects and then we try it out. Let's see. Trying to see what we can do. We could just one shot the game. I think we could one shot the game. Let's see what we can do. I mean, I'm open to any suggestion. If you guys want to try it out, we can try out something. Looking for, let's use Claude website. Something that has to do with 3D. Let's put something that has like some 3D effects. And second, okay. I think this is not bad. Let's visit the website first. Okay, this looks good. Okay. This is not bad. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take the URL. Probably going to take this one. Okay. Here's website.
Yeah, I have a good idea, bro. Clone
Okay.
it for the business operating system. So it already have lots of context.
Yes, it does.
Let's see.
Okay.
It can be our landing page.
Yeah, let's see. Who knows? I wanted to give it more prompts, but I just want to one shot it. I want to just see. I want you to see the power of this thing. Yeah.
I'm using it. The first thing is like I'm on pro plan and my 5 hour limit is exhausted within 45 minutes. It's
Oh,
consuming tokens double than Opus 4.8. Like Sonnet, then it is 4x of Sonnet. So it's very costly. But it did work of 4 hours into one. So the trade-offs. And
yeah.
so what I built a morning brief with the Fable 5. It created it ran it successfully. Then next day I run that morning brief with Opus 4.8 and it started making some it got confused because all the things were written by Fable. Then I asked Fable to review that session, like why Opus 4.8 is making a mistake. And then it changes in a way. So Fable 5 is my master reviewer. And I
Yeah.
think So decent
Yeah.
bias also, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Like every time a new model comes in, people will this animation videos. They start doubting the output of their previous models, and even I do that.
Yep. Yeah, I think we all go through that part sometimes, at the end of the day. So I wanted to use this skill. We touched on this skill in the very first video, the website cloner skill, because it said it can't take screenshots, and that's because I haven't enabled that skill. So now I'm gonna give you the ability to take screenshots, and let's see what it comes up with. Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so it's found the skill.
I never use this. Yeah. Which skill is this? AI website cloner. Okay,
Yeah, okay, let me show you.
remember that, but I don't use it.
Yeah, so this is the skill. I think it has over 16K stars now. So it just, like, as you can see, it gets it. It gives you a one-to-one clone of the website. So all I just did was I sent the link and I said, hey, use the clone skill. It's going to install the skill. It's going to read about the skill, and then we're going to go ahead and do it. So the whole point is just to see how good it can use the features and the 3D assets. Let's just see what it can come up with. Yeah.
Now I was talking to one of my friend. He said I had tried Fable 5. I am on max plan, but it's still not getting me. And I'm like, if you're writing a code base, it's more about the architecture like this, Obsidian, Boomi, or Graphify, or memory systems, then LLM itself. So if any LLM is with less context, it is gonna make assumptions, and then
Yeah.
the hallucination compound from,
Yeah.
because it's like picking first prompt, doing the output, then combining input and output of the last prompt. So it
Yeah.
keeps hallucinating and it keeps compounding.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
just giving it right skills, giving it right context.
Oh,
And
okay.
even Sonnet 4.6 can do wonderful job.
Yes, you're right. So one thing I just found that I didn't copy I didn't copy the URL. I didn't paste the URL. So yeah, here's the URL. So now it's going to, go through the URL, understand the outline. I could even ask it, by the way, tell me about clone skill, assuming I well, use it. So the by the way is a way to kind of interrupt the AI, but not like let it stop because it's still building. As you can see, target logs. It's gonna make it rebuild, but it's still gonna answer me. So it's kind of like, by the way, the way you use that in the real world. So now it's reading through the skill to give me some more clarity on what this skill does. I'm just going to okay. As you can see, yeah, happy to walk you through what it does. So now, okay. So you pointed at the URL like this one, and it rebuilds the page as a pixel faithful clone, like in the template. So you see, so the core idea is the foreman working the job site. So these are the phases. So the first stage, which is what it's doing right now, it opens the site using browser automation. It takes a full screenshot of the page to extract like the desktop and mobile like widths. It extracts the fonts, the colors, icons, and the global patterns, like the animations and stuff like that. Then it creates like a foundational build. So it's sequential. It's going to build like with the orchestrator itself. It'll build some of the, like the fundamental stuffs, right? Once it's done with that, it's going to create agents for each of the sections. So for each section, it's going to dispatch a set of agents, right, to build that part. Once they are done building it, it's going to combine it all together and bring it for the agent. So the agent is going to do the assembly. So once the builders are done, right, everything then gets wired in together. And then it does a final test, right, a visual Q&A test where it does a side-by-side comparison against the original, right, to see how good it's been able to come up with the build, with the clone. So that's it. That's basically how it works. So I use the by the way to kind of interrupt it, but it's still going. As you can see, it's still going. So it's connected to my tools. Now it's navigating to the target. That's loaded website. Is Max Yinga's UI engineer portfolio. So it's capturing the master references, taking the full page screenshots, at mobile and mobile widths. So as you can see, it's doing it, right? It's using the skill to kind of clone the website. The whole point is just to show in like a landing page of what we've built. And who knows, maybe we might even use it like in the future. So that's basically what we are trying to do. So we're going to test Fable, because whatever we're doing now, I've already done it before, but with Opus. So let's see how great, how good this turns out. And if you want to check other informations about them, you can always, click on all these links and see it out for yourself, right? So TechCrunch said, after bringing its most powerful model, after saying some days back that it's too dangerous, So yeah, I linked all of that stuff so we can all take a look at it. So let's just see how it works for now. Let's wait to get some results. I'm assuming everyone that has probably watched the brain video has built their own brain by this time.
Yes.
Awesome. So the next part is building the OS, right? That sits on top of the brain, right? The brain, after the brain, you have to give the AI hands, right? So which is the OS. That way it can keep producing the same consistent outputs, day in, day out. So yeah, this is working. It's looking at the capture design. Let's take a look at it as well. All right, so this is a screenshot, as you can see. So it has taken a screenshot, this page. Let's see what it comes up with. So while it's working, has anyone like also dealt with this problem that I mentioned, where you probably don't have enough resources or time to spread out and do other things, like maybe in your agency or in your personal life or business? And where do you see like a build like this coming in to help you? What workflow would you like to automate if you had the opportunity? I have my screen shared so I can't see. If you have your hands raised, you can just go for it.
We have Ravi here.
Okay, Ravi, please.
Yeah, I'm checking this out.
Okay.
So something that I did want to ask you was that when you say that you want to install an OS to Claude, you do mean like giving it credentials and like all this sort of tools, right?
You mean the installation doesn't happen on Claude? Claude is just like as you can see, right? I have a Claude session. So the Claude session is then pointed at the directory, is then pointed at the ICM or the OS, right? So we're not installing it on Claude. We are installing Claude into the OS. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what part or what workflow currently would you see yourself using this for, right? Because I know mine's lead generation, that's my problem. So the workflow is really helping me in that regards, so that I can focus more on the building side and just stuff like that. So what about you?
So basically, I've got an SEO agent that I'm basically working on. Well, it's not so much working on, it's like almost finished now. I just need to make sure that I put it live onto my existing clients. Now, the thing that I'm like having an issue with is that it's not just one agent, it's more like 4 agents stuck together. And then because I like to separate what each agent does, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm thinking of like using Fable in order to create the orchestration layer. Yeah. I'm probably
Okay.
going to use that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's actually a good use case. That's actually a good application. Letting Fable do like the high level, overview and thinking, and then you can use Opus or Sonnet to do like the execution level task, right? So you keep the intelligence as like the highest model, and every other thing after that just makes sense. Awesome. Who else has a question or a hot take while we wait for the agency to do this part? Guess I have to come back. So let's see. Oh, I was supposed to even take video recording because at the time I didn't see this. I think it's reactive. Oh, this is actually reactive. This is cool. I might have to do a couple of reiteration. But let's see what happens. Let's see what the agent comes
I
up
just want to see like what it can do
Yeah.
in one.
with a one shot. Yeah.
Well, It's like that's what people are talking about on Twitter. Okay, I built this in
Yes. The
I
one
want to
shot,
show.
the one shot thing. Yeah. Let's see where we're at. So as you can see, it's still writing some code. As you can see, it's still writing code for all the sections. As you can see, can't wait to see what this comes out with. Most people have been doing it with games and visual websites. Let's see what this does. I'm trying to imagine how we can dispatch dynamic workflow with different, agents running in parallel in order to accomplish tasks, and all of them are using Fable 5. I just can't, my mind can't fathom like the effectiveness of that approach, but also notwithstanding the cost implications. But if like cost was not the bottleneck for these agents, it's just going to be so wild. It's going to be so wild.
Cost is the biggest, I think, issue right now. And people are talking about loops, like having
Yeah.
repeatable prompts so that AI keep running those prompts. And the
Uh-huh. Yeah.
it's slash loops and that open Claude Peter and Claude Code Builder, Krish, I think his name is Krish. Those are
Okay.
advocating this thing like run prompts and loops now. Like I don't write prompts to Claude, just I have
Yeah.
loops and it keeps building on that. And it's
Yeah.
possible if you have like billions of dollars to spend in tokens.
Yeah.
But the cost isn't a huge issue.
Yeah, something that was really bothering me is that, like, not so much now, but like when Claude Code started, everyone was like, "Oh, skill this, skill that. Oh my God, there's so many skills." And then people just started installing random skills, and like then they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm spending like $100 on Claude," and I'm like, "What the fuck?"
I never downloaded it. Like I use superpowers most of the
Yeah.
time because now I understand how to work with it.
Mm.
All other skills I created with Skill Creator because
Yeah.
there's no point of using your skills because
Yeah.
it does that context. It's good to have skills like this cloning skill. You cannot write those things. So somebody write it has an outcome. But like marketing skills, SEO skill, this is I don't find those very useful because Claude already knows lots of things about marketing.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You're very right. And at the same time, um, there's a lot of nuance, to marketing, and some people have like their own laws and you know, um, their own standards and ways of like operating in those kind of like departments. So I see AI as a multiplication factor, right? If you have something that's working for you, a system that's working for you, then you just apply, your AI system to that, right? You don't like just pick any random skill and think you can apply it. You have to actually add your own unique touch, your own brand guide, your own like, ways of doing things, and then let AI work on top of that,
Yeah.
right?
Like and
So yeah,
it's a personalized solution now. Like AI is hyper personalized thing. And
yeah,
we never had such thing which is highly personalized.
yeah,
And it
exactly.
is helping you deliver your responsibilities and roles because then it needs to understand your style, your writing style, or let's say just uh, presenting style. If it
Mhm.
is just my style, there's no point of it for you. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I think in any minute now the agent should be done. Let's see. Okay,
Yeah.
it's testing it out.
Oh my God. It
Oh,
already created a local host.
yeah, it's
That's what I
already.
like what they will like. It is running few steps which you don't need to say, okay, now run it, now start the server. It is
Yeah,
already doing it. So it's a
yeah,
good long task, as you can
yes,
see.
really good for long tasks. Yes, I agree. So yeah, it's using Playwright to take like screenshots and come back. So it's still doing like the QA, if I'm not being mistaken. It's all components have been written, verifying the build, and yeah, it's doing every other thing. So once it's done, then we take a look and
Yeah,
see.
proud.
Yeah, it's working on the cubes like you can see, rounded.
Hey, can you launch?
Can you see? Roughness is actually designing the 3D. Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting.
So, from this cube, I think like if I'm a developer or like if I'm working on this thing, I use this cube and maybe I I'll try to build a glass box because our concept is around glass box. You
Yeah.
mentioned it's like so instead of cube, I could have built a glass box by just referring this as an example as a human. Let's see what it does.
Yeah. Okay. It's almost done.
And I also noticed one thing with Fable, the context, like percentage of context gaining is very less, like in compared to Sonnet or Opus.
Okay.
Like you see that it almost built it and the context is still 20%. That's what I'm saying. It is, I think it is consuming less tokens.
Yeah.
That is. See, you have 21% use and you already build a landing page.
Right.
Did it started any local host row? Can we see that?
Okay, let me open that. Let me see. I think I saw it. 1 second. Okay, I don't think it's this one. Let me look for it. Let me ask it. By the way, what's the post? So let's just get the URL and see how far the build has come. Okay, I think it's ready. Yeah.
Good. Person is in use by close. Okay, you already. Oh,
Hey, let's go. That's crazy. This is crazy. It's doing it's moving with my mouse. Okay.
oh, it already have a time. See on the left, a business operating system that run the clients. Oh,
Oh, wow. Business OS. Oh, this is the time. Oh, that's what you were talking about. It has my now runs the okay, this is good. This is what happened. So it's still building. It's still building, guys. Oh, it actually took me to LinkedIn.
so it already have your LinkedIn. That's the power of having a brain.
That's the power of the brain. Yeah, the brain. This is
That's why I
nice.
love it.
This is nice. Okay, let's check something else. Email, LinkedIn, WhatsApp. Interesting.
What's this drive?
Built on
Oh, I
ICN.
copied the. I think that was a personal website kind of a thing, which we.
Oh, see, built on ICM. It actually referenced the ICM methodology. Let's see. This is nice. Runs the client lifecycle. What is that? Okay, so it opens my Google Drive. Okay, still working. But just like that, like you can see in under a few minutes, not up to 20 minutes, we've been able to get a full clone, identical clone of that website. So now I'll go back and say, oh, so the 3D dimension, can you make it this way? Can you make it that way? But already it's already done a very fantastic job in getting what I wanted. If I was to open them side by side, let me see. Where is it? Okay. Let me open them side by side. So it worked based on the screenshot, but if I took a video, it will actually say, okay, this is how it works. Right. So it also got the sides, right? Got my LinkedIn, Drive, email. The time, this is I never even noticed this. So as you can see, this is one shotted. This is one shot.
I think we could have some big reference. See, this guy is a UI engineer who is just like personal portfolio, his LinkedIn, GitHub.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
it looks good, man. If you change to 24/7 AI workforce with your name, then it makes total sense.
Yes. All right, awesome. So this is not bad. So we're playing around trying to see how Fable was. I'm going to give it one. It's gone. Right, go back and fix it, as you can see. So it's not even done cooking, and look at where we are already. Amazing. Okay, so I'll just keep waiting. But yeah, that's basically it. I think you already have an idea, and I'm sure a lot of people have probably used it. But all of these cubes are in the 3D space. I don't even think this one doesn't rotate. This looks like a video, right? The only thing is that when I click on it, that's the only time it has an effect. But this one, it took like the 3D. When I take my cursor this way and this way, it turns with the user. So that's really interesting. It's stuck with the colors, the brand. Let me see. Okay. Great. So this is a one-shot website. Imagine how far I've gone if or how far I would have had to gone if I was using something else. But anyways, yes, I think you all get the point now. I think the next session we should come up with something to build live, because it's been a while we built something live, but it's always good to go over things that we built in the past to ensure everyone is following along. And if you ever had any question or you have something that maybe you want to work on, you can always like reach out and we can see how we can make that happen. Yeah, but yeah, thanks guys. I really enjoyed the opportunity to show you guys all of this. And yeah, any question, anyone before I hand it over to Manoj?
Not from me, bro.
Awesome.
Okay, guys. So
So I
see you in
guess
the
we'll
next.
do something crazy next week. Today we're just catching up and like. So guys, we'll see you next week, same time. I hope to bring something very valuable. I think these few weeks I just wanted to just touch on a few things, just have a chat. But normally what we do is we have like 1 hour going through a new topic, a new concept, and the next week we'll have something very interesting for you guys. So yeah, hope to see you soon.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining. See you
Thank you.
next week.